Let's talk about creating links in web pages today. So the way to create links is using what we call an anchor tag. A stands for A, and href, which is HTTP reference. So this href is actually an attribute with a link or hyperlink to go to imdb.com and display it as IMDb with the hyperlink. So attributes always have values with double quotation marks around it. So that's a predefined property or attribute name that you have to use with the value in between double quotation marks always. So this IMDb will end up getting a link that takes you to that particular web page. So you can link to other sites. As you can see, you can also, so as long as you have HTTP in them, you can link to other sites. So that's what it will show up as on the browser. So what if there are web pages that are on the same site? So you have to understand the Windows hierarchy, or how the directory structure is set up on the web root folder, to understand this a bit better. So if you have, that's a whole bunch of web pages, and all of these are in the same directory or folder, then you can just put in the link, right, the name of that file name, index.html, provided there is a web page with that name. So these are the different web pages that we have, and these links are all on the local website. So it will look something like this, but they're provided, all these HTML pages are located in the same directory with respect to this particular file that you see. So something that's really important to understand is the directory structure. So for example, in here you see this is kind of indented, so you can see the directory structure. Example arts is the main directory. Within that, within this, there is an index.html page, and there's also a movies directory within example arts directory. But this movies and index.html are at the same level. So something to keep in mind, that there is a cinema directory within the movies directory. So if I wanted to get to this index.html and I'm in this index.html page, so I have to go movies/cinema/index.html. If I wanted to access this listings.html, I would have to go, it depends on where you are, which web page you're in. So let's say I'm in index.html here and I want to access listings.html. So I have to first get to the movies directory. So I'd have to go /DVD/listings.html. So that's what that's really important to understand the directory structure. So there's a root folder, and those are all subdirectories within, but at the same level as within the same level, okay? And the parent is that root folder. So those are grandchildren, and you can say great-grandchildren and things like that. It doesn't matter, but the concept is you can do relative URLs, which means you can access, if you're in reviews.html, you'll be able to access index.html without saying where, because they're within the same directory. You don't have to do anything special. But if you're in index.html and you want to access this index.html, like I mentioned previously, you'd have to go music/index.html, because it is within this particular folder. Now, if I want to access index.html from listings.html, I have to use ... which actually puts me in the directory above. So right now I'm in music, so it puts me in the directory for example arts, and I can access index.html from there. So the dot dot allows you to move back up the folder. From the index.html, if I want to access reviews.html, I would have to first get into movies/dvd/index.html. So understanding this directory structure is really important. Again, if you wanted to go from reviews.html to index.html, first I need to move out of DVD, so that's the first dot dot slash, and then out of movies, which is dot dot slash, and then I'll be able to get to index.html. So the more inside you are within the directory structure, the more dot dots you have to have within there. You can also use anchor tag for email links. It doesn't have to be HTTP, means it is a hyperlink, but web pages also allow you to put an email address. So you use the mail to colon, which is usually, if you have something like this, if there is a client web email application that you use, like Outlook or something, it will try to use that and put this in its to box usually. So that's what this means, is you're hyperlinking to this, but the mail to is kind of an indication to the mail application that you're intending to send an email to John here. Okay, again the same href and then equals that, except that the mail to is the, instead of HTTP colon, is what you're using within here. So it'll look the same, except that when you click on it, if there is an email application, it'll open with that, or it will just tell you what it is. So that's what this is talking about within here. That's my clock, ignore it. You can also say how you want to open the hyperlink. You could say, I want to open, so by default, it usually opens in the same window, a hyperlink. That's the default. But let's say I wanted to open in a new tab. Or in a new window, right? So you can use the target attribute name and equals underscore blank in between double quotation marks. This allows you to open in a new tab, so you don't lose track of where you are from the previous link. So it opens in a new window. So you can also, this is a little bit advanced, but what this is talking about is kind of bookmarking, the concept of bookmarking, if you ever played with that in Microsoft Word. So what this is saying is, I have this heading 1 element. Oh, I see a typo here. This should be H1H1. It has an ID with the name top. So it's defined for the first time, hence it's equals top. And if you notice down here, there's a hyperlink to go back up to top, but this time it goes pound top. So it's the same value as that with the pound sign. So when you click on this, if you have a long page with a whole bunch of, like if you're creating a tutorial or something where you have a bunch of table of contents and you have things within it, this is really useful. So when you click on it, you can go back to the top. So here it's saying I'm referring to arc shot, which is somewhere defined down below, obviously. And here's another one, here's another one. So this means that these must have been defined somewhere else in the document. So this creates actually a hyperlink within the same document. Still the anchor tag, still href, except use the pound symbol in front of it to say I want to go to a particular location on the same web page. Alright, so it takes you to that particular location within that web page. Takes you to the top. Right, so let's practice some of these things that we learned within here inside using Notepad++. Okay. Alright, so let's go to our friendly neighborhood, Notepad++, neighborhood IDE, I should say, and let's create a web page. I'm starting to do this for every one of the tutorials or any of the examples, so we get used to to the concept of what a web page looks like. If I keep adding to the same existing web page sometimes, then the content gets lost in the translation, right? Alright, so I should also put a title, which I think I forgot on the previous lecture. Alright, so within here, let's call it my web page with hyper or anchor tags. Okay, something like that. Even an exclamation to give it some interest. So let's create one that takes me to Google. So the hyperlink within there, and then if you want a text that needs to be hyperlinked, you can do that. Ugh, what am I doing? I need to close the A tag within here. So that will take me there. One thing to keep in mind, A tag is not a block tag, so it's not going to get its own line. So to keep these separate, I'll add a BR tag that gives us a line break. And if you don't do it, you can try it. You'll see the difference, and we can do that too. Something else that will take me to a different page. Let's go to, where should we go? Where do you guys go very often? Maybe Facebook. And this time we'll say target equals, and then we'll use the blank tag. Again, Facebook, and close the tag. Alright, so we'll forget this for a minute, and I'll show you what it looks like. Let's save this, and then I'll name it links example.html. So this is the other way of doing it. You can put double quotation marks around the file name, so you don't have to go through this drop-down box. And if your file name has a .txt extension, it will never show up in the browser correctly. Okay, so it'll show up as text. Alright, so this is what it will look like. They'll be lined up next to each other. So if I do this, it'll try to open up Google in the same thing. If I do this, notice how it actually opens up in a separate tab, and that's the idea here. Now let's try putting a break tag here so you can see the difference. So you make a change, you see it's in red, and you can also see an asterisk. Save it. You can go back to this web page, your web page here, and refresh. And this time let's try it again. And you can see that they're right below each other. Okay, and this will still be working. What about opening another page? Let's try that. So something that we're going to create. Another page. I don't have this yet, but I'm planning to create it. And then we'll say target equals underscore blank. And then we'll say some other page. And then close this tag. And also do the BR tag so they are right. But if you want them right next to each other, that's fine too. Well, save it. Let's see what happens if I don't have this. So refresh it and try to go here. Well, it's saying the truth. It doesn't exist. So let's create another page. And we'll just do head. So something that you should do as you're watching these videos is also do this on your own and see what trouble you can get yourself into. Alright, I won't put anything in here. Maybe just something to say I am the other page. using the paragraph tag. Okay, and then we have to make sure we save this with the name Underpage.html. Right, so make sure that it has the .html here, right? And let's try this again. We haven't made any change to the other file, but it should work now, right? Because it's linked to this particular page at this point. The one other thing that we should try is creating a bookmark. So let's create one. So we'll do kind of the same thing that we saw up there. We'll say top, go to the top, and /a, and let's see, maybe give this an ID. I know it's not so far up, but just for fun we can do that. Again, there's red and star means we haven't saved it. Save it, go back to the web page and refresh this. So if we do go to the top, there's really not much, it's just gonna go up there. But if you have a lot of text down here, then it will make a huge difference. So you only want to use it if you have a whole bunch of text underneath and you're scrolling and you have like 5-6 pages of it. That's when you want to use it. So I think we tried all of them, didn't we? Oh, we didn't try the mail too. So let's try that one. All right. So ahref equals this times mail 2, right? So I want to mail myself. And email me. Again, do that. Save. Refresh. And then, because I didn't do the BR tag, they're all bunching up. So when I do this, see how it actually tries to open up my Outlook, which is the default behavior within here. Right? I think that's what we did. I think we tried everything that's in there. All right? Have fun.